So, this game should be about loaded up. Yes, and the game is loaded up, so we will be switching directly into it. And here we have some amusing chat from the beginning of our game here, with Heat saying a shout out to Mufasa, who died very bravely in The Lion King. Can't really tell you what that's about, but in any case, we've got our two players and our map loaded up. Spawning here in the north on Polar Night, we have Vortex eSports Heat, playing as our Red Protoss player. And down in the lower location, we have, playing for Outset Gaming with the listed clan of Denial, stif, as our Green Terran. So I actually cast Heat live earlier today with his Week 2 game, but I have no idea how he did during his Week 1 game, which is what I'm casting right now. He's a pretty good Protoss player. These are Platinum League players. It's the Platinum League game in the Chobo Team League from Week 1 between Vortex and Outset. And his Week 2 game, for those who haven't watched it yet, out on my channel, was a very exciting PvZ. He consisting of mostly a ton of early aggression from the Zerg side. I'm not going to spoil who won it for you, but it was a very exciting game, and I highly suggest you watch it. The VOD's up on my channel. So we have stif having sent out a scout SCV pretty early, getting a complete scout of the base at this point, being pretty much a gateway opener with gas pretty early, but only one gas, and a cyber core on the way. And that SCV is just going to hang out in the natural. In the meantime, he also had a probe out scouting. Let's see what he was able to see. Not much other than the wall building. He wasn't able to get in before the wall started, so didn't get that much of a scout out. But with the scout he did see an early command center, as he used a command center as part of his wall off, as well as that very typical and almost automatic barracks. stif also just finished up his first gas. Hasn't yet sent extra SCVs to it other than the one that made it. And Heat's first Zealot took a few swipes of this SCV hiding out in his base, but Zealots are certainly not fast enough to catch an SCV. But the SCV was left here in the natural rather than microed all the way back home, so he gets free SCV, a little bit of a pickup. Right before he takes his first expansion, Nexus. Second gas coming down here for Heat. Nothing else going on just yet other than that all-important warp gate technology. And that Nexus coming in. Looks like we got another barracks coming down for stif, so we're going to see some bio play out of him, I'd wager. No factory just yet, just that second barracks. And as I say that, the factory comes down. And stif floating the CC over to his natural and building a bunker for protection, as Heat, in fact, scouts those moves, moving his Zealot and Stalker forward to do a little bit of a poke, but not being able to bust through a bunker with 3 Marines in it already. Robo just completing for Heat there. So we're probably going to see Colossi come out pretty soon if the game gets that far. However, we don't see a robotics facility down just yet. Well, a robotics base, sorry. I often get those mixed up, as many people do. We don't see a robo bay coming down for Heat just yet. Choosing to use that robo to get out a quick observer. And starting to chrono out +1 on armor, and we see Stim on the way for our Terran player. Warp Gate has now completed for Heat. He hasn't yet warped his gateway over, but he's got a few more gateways on the way. And there's those gateways opening up into Warp Gates. A reactor going down, and that's second Bear Eric's for Stiff down here. And a third CC already in production. See this observer from Heat scouting around. He gets a pretty good look at everything. So Heat knows exactly what's going down in Stiff's base, whereas Stiff hasn't had a scout in a while. He also has zealots has a zealot and a probe holding each watchtower in the center of the map, so he has very good map vision and just very good vision of everything at this point in the game. Interestingly, though, that robo is continuing to lie unused, other than that one observer that's already out. Well, there's also another observer here. So there's actually two observers out on the map for him, but other than that, and in fact making another observer, he's just continuing to pump observers out of that robo rather than use it to build offensive units. And in fact bringing down a Templar Archives rather than using the robo for Colossi, so we're probably going to see some High Templar and Storm out pretty soon for his area of effect damage. In the meantime, we have the first medevacs about to come out for Stiff. As well as +1 on weapons and armor for our infantry and combat shield on the way. And that armory to allow the all-important +2 and +3 upgrades. And as soon as that Templar Archives finishes, Storm is on the way for Heat. So both players just continuing to build their composition for the most part, but it looks like Heat's moving out onto the map with a little force. Not sure if this is going to be used as an attack or just taking map control, but he certainly has full map control at this point. Using that probe that was at the watchtower to make a forward pylon. The observer that was hanging out in Stiff's base has dropped back a little. And waits for that pylon to complete. I wager we're going to see some more forces added to this group, and perhaps a small attack coming down from Heat. A few more zealots joining the party. A few more warp-ins here. Just a few more zealots being warped in. And some High Templar having been warped in the main base joining in as well. Now Storm is just about complete. By the time they get to the front, they will be able to throw down some storms, and it seems to be a pretty good timing as Stiff is also moving out his first group with 2 Hellions and a large number of Marines. Stiff pulls back at his force and uses a storm, a pretty decent storm, not necessarily the best or the worst. Getting a few Marines at the front for his trouble. Now Heat still hasn't lost a single unit at this point in the game. But he's going to start to lose his first units, throwing down a few more storms to get more of these Marines, and all those zealots making pretty quick work of those Marines in the middle of the field. His push is looking pretty good for Heat. He's just plain got a lot more there, at least until he gets to those bunkers. I'm not sure if he has anything that'll allow him to break through the bunkers, though, and he thinks the same, and so pulls back after taking out a significant amount of Stiff's army. Also prevents this third from going down. Stiff was trying to get it a third down during that time, and well, that third had to lift and go back as Heat seems to have complete map control at this point in the game. See, Hellbat had another medevac and some more Marines coming down for Stiff to try to break out of this, but I'm not sure if that's the best choices. However, her drop play might actually be the best choice. He still does have all of his medevacs, so might do well for him to start trying to do some drops to break this contain. As this contain from heat is pretty strong. Number of High Templar and just a large amount of Zealots with a few Stalkers. One thing, it doesn't have that much of his anti-air, which means it's not going to be very good at sniping down those medevacs. The main anti-air coming from either Storms or the one Archon in the group. That SCV finally taken down. Not sure what he was doing hanging out here. And another SCV still misrallied into the base from when it was landed over there. And Widow Mine in a good location to prevent a Warp Prism drop over here for Stif. Got +1 weapons almost done for our Protoss player, as he already has +2 ground armor, but we have 2-2 on the way for our Terran 1-1 having been completed. So Heat has decided it's time to actually break this barracks, and with Storms to kill the SCVs coming into repair, he is going to succeed at breaking the barracks. However, that wall is still pretty tight, getting a nice choke, but a tight choke often favors a Protoss player, but in this situation with Zealots and High Templars as the main attacking force, well, the Zealots are held back by the funneling, but the funneling actually made those Storms a lot worse than a lot better for Heat than they otherwise would have been. Now, he seems to have ripped pretty much entirely through Stif's army at this point. Stif does have a significant amount of army supply still going, but a lot of that's in these medevacs up here, and in the drop that he has up at Heat's newly formed third base. So we have this small drop going on, which is going to do significant damage, but rather than try to come back and defend it, it looks like Heat's just going to move forward and try to end the game. He's already made the natural lift off, and he's now coming up the ramp to the main. The main's going to pick up and try to run, leaving absolutely no mining going on for Stif, whereas even though Heat has lost his third base, he still has 2 mining bases up at this point. The main not being quite mined out yet, and the natural still going strong. During all of this, Stif's main is being absolutely ravaged. His supply is absolutely nothing. That's got to be GG. At this point, Stif thinks he's got some kind of a base trade going, trying to attack the main and take out some of these gateways, but if this turns into a base race, he might actually have some chance of success, but Heat's troops are going to be able to come home by the time those troops are able to take out the natural at least. And Heat is already sending the majority of his troops home, having finished off pretty much everything in the main base other than this spare supply depot over here. Now, Stif has re-landed one of his bases and is starting to mine with mules. And in fact, re-landed the other in an odd location. Trying very hard with the base race, but he just doesn't have enough DPS to do very much. He's taken down a few of the gateways, but we actually have Heat's first Colossus on the way. That robotics bay having been made. He'll probably get this Nexus, Stif, but between the warp ends and Heat's force now being home after having ravaged everything that Stif had, this just isn't going to go very well for Stif. Stif finally GG's out with that army having been cleaned up back in Heat's main. So that brings our series to 2-1 in the favor of Vortex.